When you hear the sound of the bell, you know you're in the championship rounds with of Essex. So let's get to it. Very quick recap and congratulations as if she hadn't received enough adulation. I'm talking about Nazarena Romero and new WBA Super Bantamweight Division champion with a 10th round TKO stoppage over Paulette Cuestra of Mexico. Now, Romero out of Argentina. This was a home country fight, hometown fight on her home turf. Certainly, the third time being the charm. This is her third time challenging for a world title and becoming successful. So, bantamweight division, only individual holding straps right now is Ellie Scotney, except for the IBO, which some people choose to recognize it, some people don't. I do recognize it, and when I do recognize that, Mea Motu out of Australia is the IBO champ. 19-0 with 7 KOs, and that's a great unification bout for Scotney. Really, really, really becoming the truly undisputed, save for that WBA recently acquired by Romero. So all things will happen in due time. And in time, I guess we're hearing the announcement of Scotney and Motu. We know that purse bid was delayed sometimes last month. So hopefully that announcement comes sooner than later. Also coming soon, because it would be sooner or later, again, the gracious Amanda Serrano vacated some belts. Um, we got the WBO interim title. Now, this belt, I don't believe Serena will ever vacate, because it's based in Puerto Rico. We know how strong her pride is. However, there's an interim title floating around that's held by Danila Ramos, who Serrano fought in a 12-by-3 bout. And Ramos will be facing another Serrano, a common opponent with Serrano and Sarah Mahfoud. So that's a pretty interesting bout. Because again, I'm wondering where it's going. The bout is for a WBO International. Then you'll have the WBO Interim. Again, will Serrano just graciously vacate the WBO title if either of these women, unify these kind of secondary titles? I hate when things are not clear of what's happening on in the division. So hopefully this bout will add some clarity to what Serrano wants to do with the WBO belt at 126. Now, speaking of a whole nother division, 135. I didn't like the fight to begin with, although I got no issue with the challenge of it, meaning Rhiannon Dixon versus Terri Harper. I just find it egregious that Harper would hold the WBA title hostage while she goes all the way down to 135. Come on, man, let that belt go. So what I'm hearing is that Dixon and Harper is off for the 28th, has been rescheduled for October 26th on the Catterall-Prograis undercard. But, again, I'm hoping at least by the time we get to that bout, the WBA has called Harper to the table and say, hey, if you're not doing business at 54 anymore, which we could understand, weight wise, it's difficult to make, and she doesn't need to take the damage that stands to be, available or readily happening at 54 with the smaller framed belter Harper, that is. So yeah, vacate that WBA before October, champ. Do something gracious, Meanwhile, I know Dixon is excited to get Harper on her resume if Dixon should turn out victorious, one of the young lions of the 135 division. So maybe hoping she gets, again, Harper on her scalp and then tries to unify in division. All right. Speaking of that same division, let's keep it in 135 because the IBF has clarified their rankings. Now we know Beatriz the Beast Ferreira is the champ at 135. We had no questions about that. I'm just questioning what she gonna do next. I know coming off of the Olympics, there's lots of stuff that she can do. But the number one ranked opponent is Beke Bas out of Germany. All right. A heavy puncher. I think she's 19-0 with 8 KOs, which is fine considering she's fought absolutely nobody that we could recognize. But I guess the idea of a puncher versus a puncher in women's boxing, we don't get to see that often. So if that's an opponent, I'm cool with that. But there's some other fighters that are interesting. I mentioned unification. Um, Caroline Dubois, interim WBC and IBO champ. We know Dixon. Okay. Now I'm thinking, if maybe Ferreira might want to defend against Yanina Lescano, who is, I believe, ranked number 3 or 4 in the IBF. So common opponent with Caroline Dubois begins to kind of continue that narrative, if you will. So I like that fight. Jessica Camara is a great fight. I like Jessica Camara for anybody because I know she's going to be a tough out for anybody. Um, so yeah, I'd love to see that. Who I don't want to see, because she robbed Camara, right? Had a whole country behind her, robbed Camara of her purse because she couldn't rob her for the belt. And I'm talking about Hoon Min Choi. I ain't rocking with Hoon Min Choi. I don't want to see her getting any opportunities because of what she did with the whole purse issue. Just nasty. I can't rock with that. So get her up out of here. Not concerned with what she does, but I am concerned with what happens in the IBF. So let's see if we hear any fight announcements from Ferreira anytime soon. Because yeah, we'd love to see her in action. All right. Um, wouldn't it be cool to see her on that October 26th card as well? That would be great to have her and Dixon on the same card, you know. You're welcome, Eddie. Um, moving right along, let's talk about um an opponent I didn't mention, and it's just for curiosity's sake. I'll just take us down a little Swervingtons. Stevie Morgan, yeah, the former opponent of Amanda Serrano. Yeah, she's ranked about number 6 or 7. Maybe that's an interesting fight. Maybe not. I don't know. But see, is how I'm talking about Stevie Morgan, former opponent of Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano mentioned that she brought in Morgan to camp to help her get prepared, I guess. As if that fight wasn't in. Again, Amanda Serrano, she's so charitable and so gracious. I mean, and I'm not saying that facetiously. I mean, look at the opportunities she's giving and creating people. Speaking of which, she's got Crystal Rosado kind of like on a media tour, doing some things with the WBO podcast. Remember, WBO, based out of Puerto Rico, Puerto Rican pride, Crystal Rosado. Don't be surprised if you find Crystal Rosado fighting for some sort of WBO Latino Federation, something or other pretty soon, man. But yeah, shout out to Amanda Serrano. Speaking of press tours, Alicia Bumgarner is down in Atlanta ahead of her bout next month against Delphine Persoon. And it's just good to see her also courtside. And I don't know the Atlanta WNBA team, but Bumgarner is on a hell of a press run. Very presidential, very, very demure, very cutesy, very mindful. Yeah, I had to do it, y'all. Yeah, and that is Alicia Bumgarner. So kudos to her. Can't wait to see her back in the ring, though. All right. Talking about in the ring, something pretty peculiar. I thought I'd mention what's happening at 154. Priscilla Petrel, hope I pronounced that right, out of France, undefeated, 10-0 with 3 KOs versus Clarabelle Mena. This is why it's interesting. It's for a WBC silver. We know Cecilia Brækhus is the WBC interim, and the Where's Waldo? Emma Kozin is the full WBC champion. And so I understand that she's having visa issues, but I'm not feeling, we just talked about that with the WBO in the featherweight division. You don't have to make and proliferate all these belts to make people feel like champions. I want to see them face the champions so we can get more the belts transferring in a lineal fashion, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, man. Let's do this thing right. But nonetheless, because this just crowds up 154, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of my favorite divisions, all right? Now, wonderful segue into one of the worst divisions in women's boxing. I got to tell you, 115, Basura. And it's not the fighter's fault. It's what's happening with the champions in that division. So now, Adelaida Ruiz out of California, as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, 16-0 with 1 draw. She's the WBC interim champ. Yeah, because I explained to you guys a couple episodes ago, shorty that was the full champ hadn't fought since 2003, like, because that's the full so she's got the belt down in Mexico holding that shit hostage like Canelo's brother in front of the Billy Joe Saunders fight. Only boxing heads would know. Keep up, man. But still, the belt is being held hostage, so there's an interim on the loose being held by Adelaida Ruiz. Not her fault. I respect what she's doing. Just this fight. I mean, are you guys crazy? Anybody that knows me, you probably heard me say this name before. Jasmine Artiga. Why isn't she getting this shot? No disrespect to Jenny Fuchs, but a 3-0 Jenny Fuchs, decorated as an amateur. I get it, but she wasn't exactly fucking Lomachenko. She wasn't exactly Andy Cruz. I'm just trying to figure out why not qualified contenders getting this opportunity. But I suppose I'm just standing on a soapbox. Hopefully preaching to the choir. Hopefully you guys feel me on this one. But this is what's happening this weekend on the undercard of Diego Pacheco and Maciej Sulecki. So yeah, it's pretty scant on the women's action. I know we had some action out of Australia earlier today. Some good prospects. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But before we go, I have to wish happy birthday to the $1 million Nepo baby, Sky Nicholson. Her birthday was yesterday. Happy belated birthday. Happy belated birthday to Callie Reese, former world champion and now highly decorated and nominated actor or actress. All right. I don't want to ruffle nobody's feathers, but she's doing her thing on the screen. And also today, we're celebrating the birthday of none other than my girl, Yokasta Valle, former unified strawweight champ. So, lots of birthday celebrations, ladies and gentlemen. And if you got anything to celebrate, go ahead, pop some champagne or some prosecco and celebrate yourselves. And also, please do me a favor, celebrate this episode by dropping a like, drop a comment, share this, steal this information, and pretend to pass it off as your own. But people will know the vernacular and the dialect will come from the one and only King of Essex, the warden of women's boxing. I'm your guy, and I appreciate you guys for taking your time to watch what I'm doing. All right. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys soon.